Okay, y'all forgive us. We've been busy in a lot of different directions, but I congratulate all those that have weathered the storm as our, going through our session. That, we made it without a whole lot of casualties, and so I congratulate you on that. Along the way, and today we want to talk about highways and our secondary roads, and just a simple fact, just this. And I hope we report this way, but here's the real deal. All I can ever do is try to tell you as best I can the truth. And I'll make mistakes, but I'll always try to tell you the truth. Now, here's the reality. And again, I hope you report this exactly this way. You probably won't, but that's okay. When I walked in the door here, your secondary roads were falling all to pieces. No matter what anybody says, we can identify a fact and identify the truth. Well, vehicles were getting torn up right and left. It was costing everybody under the sun. Nobody knew where to turn. Roads were unsafe beyond belief for our children and school buses and everything under the sun. Well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Earl Ray had been your governor for a good little while, and year after year after year, we had cut budget, cut budget, cut budget, cut budget. You didn't have any money. Does anybody really get it? The simple fact is the state was absolutely starving to death, dying. That's all there is to it. You couldn't go fix roads. And so what did we do? We just gleaned and gleaned and gleaned and pulled and pulled and pulled away from the very thing that is your lifeblood other than education, and that's your roads. Nobody wants to be in a state where you can't get to the convenience store. For crying out loud, you just don't want to. So we came up with this Roads to Prosperity idea. Now, and we pulled it off, and the voters got behind us, and lo and behold, we pulled it off, and all of a sudden, right behind that came jobs. We put a lot of people to work. Then naturally, there was other things, I believed that the coal industry was going to kind of perk back up, and it did. Our gas situations have been better, and our tourism is now fired up, and it's better. And all of a sudden, lo and behold, the state's starting to get right side up. But again, if we're going to just speak factually, we starved ourselves. We absolutely sold equipment that could have been doing maintenance in the counties. We starved our crews and everything teetotally to death. And then we wondered, well, what happened to our roads? I mean, for God's sakes a living, let's just be real. This all happened before little Jimmy ever came to town. Now, I've said from day one, it's a crying, pitiful shame, the shape of our secondary roads, and we need to do something about it. And so we embarked on that through our Roads to Prosperity program. And again, I don't profess to be any guru of highways, But we weren't getting it done at the pace that it needs to be able to have gotten done. So, I'm going to read you 2 or 3 things, and I just believe just one thing, and it's just this simple. I told the people of this state that we were going to fix the damn roads. That's exactly what I told them. And I haven't changed my philosophy in any way, shape, form, or fashion. That's what we've got to do. We've got to fix the damn roads. That's all there is to it, because people absolutely, and they come to my office over and over, the first 2 things that they say about wanting to come to a state are, how are the schools and how are the roads? You know, that's the first 2 things they say. Those are standards, I've spoken of this before, standards of life. Now, I'm going to read you a couple things. One of them is just a statement from me saying, we're going to get back to the basics. The Division of Highways is, at its core, a maintenance organization, and maintenance will be our first priority. Now that is profound as I can possibly say. You know, we're going to find the most fiscally responsible way to fund our secondary road work. The legislature has authorized us to shift from pay-as-you-go money towards core maintenance funding. Now, basically what that means is just this, is we have earmarked taxes to pay debt service, but we don't have the debt service yet because we've not put out the bonds. You know, so we can take that money and put it toward core maintenance. Now, I'm going to read this to you. And I don't usually like to read, but, you know. We'll begin a spring and summer statewide paving and resurfacing program. This will be a combination of contracted work and work done by DOH crews using their own equipment. We're going to have to hire temporary workers, probably hundreds of temporary workers, and some of these temporary workers will turn into permanent workers when we'll hopefully be able to glean off the best and move them over to permanent. We have to buy equipment to put back in our counties to be able to do the work. We will have renewed emphasis on heavy maintenance crews to be used in the most hard-hit areas to help with slide repair and other major projects. Now, the other thing is this, the Roads to Prosperity program and the roads, the bids, all the different aspects, whether it be bridges or whatever, they'll be done. They'll be done. And hopefully the timeline will stay really right on timeline. Now, there's no question that there's bids that have come in and they've come in really high, and you know, and then what we've done from that is we've said, well, wait a minute here, what's going on here and everything? Well, what we've done is we've expanded the scope of the job, and before you know it, we were going to repair a bridge, and the next thing that's happened is we're now paving, you know, 82 miles of 4-lane highway up to the bridge and building 3 convenience stores and everything else along the way. And we have expanded the scope, and therefore this $150 million project becomes a $300 million project. We got to get that under control. Now, okay, you know, we have saved millions of dollars in some bids, and some bids have come in too high, and we're going to keep looking in every area we possibly can to improve this process and get these bids in and get these projects done, you know, as cost efficiently as we possibly can. This plan will will allow us to, it says make a dent, but I hope to goodness above we can do a whole lot more than make a dent in fixing our potholes and patching our roads and get our roads back the way that they ought to be. This is a big, big, big project. You've got to remember, this is not like that we just let stuff go for 3 or 4 years under the Tomlin administration. This goes way back to where we made a decision to basically sell equipment. And, you know, and I don't know if that would go back into the Manchin, you know, administration. It probably does. But we made a decision to sell equipment and get rid of we got rid of our military. Do you understand? I mean, we disarmed ourselves, and I think there's people here that can testify to this a whole lot better than I. Back in the Manchin administrations, we disarmed ourselves, and then we didn't have any money when Earl Ray was at the helm, and all of a sudden, before you know it, we have absolutely just created what I would call the all-time motherlode of the dog's mess. That's what we've done. We've created a motherlode of a dog's mess. And now you've got good people that are trying to straighten it out. Now, and we're going to straighten it out because you remember what I've said over and over, I'll promise you I'm going to fix the damn roads. That's all there is to it. Now, I'm going to read to you again. There'll be, you know, and this is kind of repeating, but there'll be renewed emphasis on paving and patching while also completing all the Roads to Prosperity program in a responsible manner. It is my intention, and this is the only thing, and I only say this in jest because this is the only thing today that I am having heartburn over, and I'm only teasing, you know, and that is this. I've got a really good friend. He worked for us a long, long time. I've got a lot of confidence in him. He's super smart. You know, he's just on his game. He knows what in the Dickens is going on all the time, you know, and he'll work until the cows come home. So, but I tease him and say, this is giving me heartburn. It is my intention today to appoint Byrd White as our acting Secretary of Transportation, and I have instructed him to go in today with his team and begin working on everything that I've outlined today. So, did Byrd leave? Are you hiding? Oh, there you are. Yesterday I met with Byrd, and I was with Byrd and Bray and Byrd's wife, who's, bless her heart, she's having some health issues, but she's going to be well. Everything's going to be okay, and we love her to death. And her name's Sue, and Sue and I have always been real buddies and everything. Sue texted me on the phone because she knew I was with Byrd. She said, ask Byrd about the black belt and black shoes he has on with everything else brown today. And you know, our prayers are surely with Sue. And okay. Now, I'll surely take your questions as best I can, and if I can't answer them, Dave or somebody here will.
Governor, how much is this going to cost, and where's the money?
All right. Guys, Dave, you want to make an initial, you know.
I don't want to say that there's no set number this time, Bob, because Byrd White and I have been working very, very hard to try to look at all the available buckets of money, including what we can or can't do with the proceeds from GO1. It was $913 million that we recognized from the sale of the GO1 bond. $236 million of that has been committed already.
You got to talk loud.
Five very large projects that are under contract, $236 million. But we've also explored with the Bond Council and Prague, which is our financial advisor, how much of the 913 that's remaining that we can use as part of our overall plan to upgrade and improve the secondary roads. And that's beyond just paving. That's with culvert repair, restoring the ditches, and all the above. So that's sort of a global view, but the exact number is a work in progress at this point.
How much of this is caused by not being able to have an adequate number of bodies in the DOH. Some of these crews seem to be shorthanded in a lot of these counties.
We had a series of meetings this week with DOH personnel, including Jimmy Riston, who's here today. I'm sorry. Including Jimmy Riston, who's here today, and we talked about the impediments to getting the job done. One was not being able to get people on the payroll fast enough. They have an immediate need, paving highways, for a number of entry-level transportation worker type positions. We think we've solved that by coming up with a plan to bring those hires on immediately through temporary hiring process, which is permissible, and we've cleared that with the State Department of Personnel. The other part revolves around the need for equipment, and that we do have state contracts in place that we can purchase equipment, but we are asking the purchasing department to expedite our request, so we don't go through a lot of red tape trying to buy the necessary equipment that's needed. And the engineers, particularly Mr. Riston, have laid out a real good plan on what each district needs and what type of equipment each district needs. And we're going to expedite those purchases as well.
Going back to my first question, how much do you need to do the job adequately? How much money do you actually need?
We haven't determined the exact number.
Let me answer, okay? I'll give you the best answer that I can possibly give you on both situations. First of all, we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. You know, I don't know if that number in its beginning is 282 million or it's, you know, 196 million, but it's millions, hundreds of millions. The second thing is just like I said earlier, we had the ability and should have the ability to do a tremendous amount of this work on a county level. We don't have the stuff to do it with, you know. In some way, somehow, we got away from that philosophy. We got away from the philosophy of taking care of our own stuff, you know, and we don't have the stuff to do it, nor do we have the people to do it. There's no point in going out and hiring the people if you don't have the stuff, you know. Well, so we've got to change the mindset of what we're doing. We've got to get the stuff, and then we've got to hire the people, you know. There's no question, handling the Roads to Prosperity program, you're talking about two different things, Bob, entirely. The hiring of people in the highway department to do design work or engineers or whatever it may be for the Roads to Prosperity program has been difficult, because going through all the hoops you got to go through to hire somebody, you know, is unbelievable. That's one thing. But in this situation, you know, hiring people to be able to run something and go out and actually repair and do the work, that's another animal. And so in this situation today, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about today, we've got to hire hundreds of people to staff ourselves up on a county level, and we've got to buy equipment to be able to go do the work.
A couple of questions. They're kind of related. One could be for the governor, one could be for Revenue Secretary, but question one is going to be in regards to the bonds or on the debt obligation, the debt money is being used to do this. Have you had any conversations with the bonding agencies to find out whether this is something that they approve of, that they like? And then the secondary question is, obviously Tom Smith was let go or fired earlier this week. Was this plan specifically why you all parted ways?
I can speak to the question about the bond agencies. Absolutely. We've had conversations with our bond counsel, Jackson Kelly, and our financial advisor, Public Resource Advisory Group. We've examined the bonds. The average maturity rate on those bonds is 15.2 years. So that's the average maturity rate. The way those bonds are written, they're staggered between 1 year and 25 years. And we've also consulted with both of the above, bond counsel and PRAG, as to the possibility of using some of those funds for projects that have a year projected lifespan of, say, 7 to 12 years. And that would be a lot of these secondary road projects versus an interstate highway project or a U.S. highway project that might have a projected life of 20 years. And the goal is when you get your plan together, you have a set of rules that you must comply with to make sure that the average asset that you purchase with the bond funds is at least 15 years, the average life of the asset. So that's the answer, and that we have consulted. We will continue to consult, and we will continue to make sure they're on board with any final plan that we make.
So you don't know.
Let me follow up on Tom Smith, okay? I want to first say Tom Smith's a good man. Tom Smith's done a good job, and he's a good man. We do have a differentiation of philosophy. Tom has been in the federal government for a long time, and he's attuned to doing big projects. And our situation is, here, Edith that's setting up in Hoo Hoo Holla today doesn't really care a whole heck of a lot about us spending $300 million on repairing or building a new bridge on the interstate. She just cares about how she can get to the convenience store. And really and truly, and Toby, that's worried about his kids on a school bus going over a slip somewhere that the school bus is driving on every day, he's scared to death about his kids. Well, absolutely, we need to listen to Edith and Toby. That's all there is to it, and we have had multiple conversations with Secretary Smith, and I have made everybody double, triple, quadruple check with the bondholders, with Prague, with everybody. I mean, these people have run this scenario over and over and over. We do have a different philosophy, and we just can't keep spinning the wheels. We got to go another way. Good man, did a good job. A guy that I really, really respect and think the world of. But we've got a different philosophy, and really and truly, Toby's not getting his road fixed, and he's worried about the kids. Well, I'm worried about the kids too.
Governor, a lot of the senators and delegates in the northern panhandle are worried because the I-70 project has not begun yet. It came in $100 million over budget. They too share your concern about secondary roads, but they worry it's going to be one or the other, that the secondary roads are going to get the money and not I-70. What do you say to Mr. about that?
No, it's not going to be one or the other. And again, I am not, I said early on, I'm not a highways expert, but absolutely, we're going to find a way to do the projects. The people in the Northern Panhandle, rightfully so, are concerned about those bridges, and I am too. For crying out loud, we've got to fix those bridges and everything. But we've got to make sure that we didn't expand the scope so much and bring in a whole lot of other dollars and everything that are just costing us money that we really don't need to spend today.
So you can't say how much this is going to cost. You're still looking at the bond money. You have to hire folks. You have to buy equipment. Am I wrong to think this sounds pretty abstract and not really concrete?
I like the concrete part, with the roads idea. I think just to be perfectly honest, I think your thoughts are absurd. If you were fair, if you were really fair in your judgment, we could sit back here right now and say, well, hold on here. We don't have an exact number of what this is going to cost. We don't have an exact number of employees that are hired. So let's do this. Let's just keep studying it. Let's study it for another 9 months or 12 months and be right back here on day one. What I'm telling you is this is a start. This is a start with a vetted commitment that we can do it from the bonding agencies, and somebody that's standing right here sitting right here that's saying, absolutely, we're going to be able to extract money out of the pay-as-you-go deal and put monies into this. We're going to be able to extract some money out of the bond situation and put some money in this. We're going to go buy the equipment. I can't tell you that's the tractor that's sitting right out there, and there's the dump truck. But trust me, there's somebody that'll sell us a tractor and a dump truck. And then as soon as we can get 14 people hired, they'll go get on that tractor, that dump truck, and they'll be fixing somebody's road. So it maybe seems abstract, you know, it may seem like, you know, only a possibility, but this is going to happen.
Hey, Governor, you got a standing ovation during the State of the State for mentioning an emphasis on secondary roads, and then concern rose and rose and rose over the course of the legislative session. So here we are midway through March. Should we have had this conversation sooner, and why didn't we? Was there stuff going on behind the scenes, disagreement among your top staff that prevented this conversation from happening sooner?
No, I don't think that at all, Brad. You know, I mean, I come out in the State of the State and give vision, you know, and then you've got to implement vision. I think that's the way it works. I'm not, you know, I'm not the guru of government, but I think that's the way it's supposed to work. So I come out in the State of the State and give vision, and then we go to work. And we try to figure out how to implement vision. And that's what we've done. And really and truly, if we pulled that off in 65 days, you know, we need all kinds of red feathers, because honestly, it takes 65 days around here to figure out how to do anything.
Governor, given that the Blue Ribbon Commission on Highways basically said state roads are underfunded to the tune of nearly $1 billion a year, how are we going to be able to implement real road construction and road maintenance without raising taxes or finding new revenue?
But we're not going to raise taxes. We're not going to do that under my watch. I mean, you know, but there's, I think in the state of the being, it would be frivolous to think that we're going to be able to instantly fix every road and make it perfect. Let's just be fair. But we are now shifting real live dollars and real live focus and real live manpower into doing something. You know, we got into this situation, like I said, because we just flat bankrupt ourselves. You know, we got there. Now we got to get out of here. You know, now there's an additional thing that I would be, you know, and I may be getting in trouble here, but I would be an advocate of wholeheartedly, and that would be this. We're going to end up with some surplus dollars beyond what we already have right now. We're going to end up with surplus dollars between now and the end of the year, and if things continue to go the way we hope they're going to go, we're going to end up with, I don't know, pick a number, 50 to 75 or whatever $1 million. I'd be an advocate saying put it all in the highways too. So in addition to the bonds, in addition to the pay-as-you-go money, in addition to, put it all in there too. You know, and let's just make that dollar number as high as we can possibly make it. And if that dollar number turns into from 192 into 250 or 250 into 300, then the more the merrier. And like I said, we won't be able to fix every single slip, every single pothole, every single road, but I'll tell you this, and by God, you can rest assured of this, we will fix one pot full of them. That's all there is to it.
You think you're going to need additional help from the legislature? There was some confusion. Senator Smith's bill funded $110 million, and then it went over to the House, and the House said, well, we don't really know we can fund it like this. Let's just suggest a transfer of $80 million. It was left kind of nebulous Saturday night. Are we going to need legislative action?
Sure, and the good senator and delegate, you know, there's, and you know, our Senate president's here, and you know, I haven't seen our speaker, but you've got other senators here, and you've got a lot of people here that really care. Everybody's all in. Everybody's all in, and sure, it may take additional legislation or whatever like that, and special session stuff or whatever like that to shift monies over or whatever like that to do. But for crying out loud, you know, we're on the right side of the fence here. You know, that's just all there is to it.
Hey, Governor, there was legislation that would roll back the severance tax on steam coal, about $60 million total over a couple of years.
Right.
Now you have a decision to make about that. Is that the kind of money that may be necessary to fund our road fixes?
Brad, you know, that's a tough question, and really and truly, you know, you know, that really makes a very, very, very difficult situation for me. And here's the difficult situation. You know, I'm all for our coal miners, no question whatsoever. You had votes of people upstairs, 89 to 11. You know, the people, you got to listen to our delegates. You got to listen to the people, and you got to listen to the vote. And I don't want to go in opposition to the vote. On the other hand, you know, my family has been in the mining business, and I know something about it. I know a lot about it. And, you know, I can see we have had a dramatic increase in pricing. And if we would have just listened to this teeny little guy here, you know, we would have had tiered severance taxes, because that's what I said on the whiteboards in the first day of the state. You know, why didn't somebody report that? I, right in the first day of the state, said, listen, we need to reward our companies and help our companies if prices are bad. But if prices are good, really high, we need to extract something and not become a third world country. We do not need to have our resources leave and us be sitting there holding the bag. So that's exactly what I said. Exactly what I said. You know, to me, it's a really, really difficult position because, you know, I wish we could have gotten through exactly what I said, but we didn't get it through. And, you know, I'm not the king. I've got to listen to our good delegates and our good senators, and I've got to listen to our coal miners, because we don't want to lose any coal miners. That's for dadgum sure.
Governor, while we're on this subject, you also asked for the legislature to eliminate the income tax and Social Security beneficiaries across the board. What they came back with was not what you asked for. It's a 3-year phase out, and there's an income cap. Some people will still have to pay income tax and Social Security. Might this be a bill to be vetoed or consider vetoing?
I don't think, because you know, I think the legislature and everything they were trying to do, you know, I respect what they were trying to do, and it's a move in the right direction. It's at least a move in the right direction, and you know, and so I wish to goodness that we could have just removed the Social Security, you know, income, you know, the taxing on our Social Security recipients and just done it. You know, as far as stipulating, you know, those that have gone out and earned money and everything, I totally understand, you know, that, you know, I mean, again, it gets back to the severance tax idea almost, you know, people that are doing really good, you know, maybe they don't really need the extra, you know, perk or whatever from the standpoint of the reduction, you know, and I think that was the whole philosophy. The people that are doing less good, we need to help them more. And so you know, I'm respectful of what they did.
Governor, speaking of severance tax, I understand that the natural gas industry is one reason that's been identified as several for the state of our roads. So I was wondering if there's been any consideration of taxing that industry more, or asking them to pay for some of the repairs.
Well, understand this, you know, I am a real advocate to not raise taxes. You know, that's all there is to it. But I'm also an advocate of just this. You know, we cannot become a state. We've done this so many times already. I mean, let's just be real. Years and years and years ago, we cut timber everywhere in this state, and it left. Then all of a sudden, the timber was gone, and the people left. Then we mined coal forevermore, and the good coal was gone, and the people left. You know, if we don't watch out, the same thing's going to happen with our gas situation here too. And so there is an absolute legitimate argument, and I hear the argument. There's a legitimate argument that says, well, you know, should the gas people pay more because they're damaging the roads or they're doing this or that and everything else? And they are paying more because there was one hand that would say, well, crying out loud, I mean, look at the people we're employing, look at the monies we're spending, look at everything in the world that's going on. We are paying tens of millions of dollars right now. You know, we are paying more. On the other hand, you know, there's an argument, well, for crying out loud, you know, our roads are getting torn up and everything else. We need to extract more. Now, then there's the argument that comes into play, and this is something that everybody's got to be aware of, is what is the taxation in Pennsylvania? You know, what's the taxation in Ohio? You know, what's the taxation in areas that they could go and drill another well there, or do we want them drilling wells here? You know, and so now you get into an argument that is that's well-founded forevermore. If you lower the taxes over here, more people come. If you raise the taxes over here, more people leave. You know, and so it is a really delicate balancing thing, in the same way with our severance situation. You know, we just passed a bill that basically says this, and I'm talking too much, but maybe you can get enough out of it, you know, that you want. But we just passed a bill that's an incentive bill to have more coal production within our state. A coal mine job is a big deal because it's a multiplier effect like you can't imagine. Well, just think about this. Maybe you don't understand all this and everything, but I got it. This is my bill. I got it. You know, and it's just this, is if Brad has been in the mining business in West Virginia, and today we're on a run rate of about 100 million tons in the state. But if Brad is one of the companies that has been mining in West Virginia today, and Brad wants to go out and expand his operation and spend $100 million and put another mine in over here and hire another 200 people. What we'll do with Brad to incentivize him to do that, we'll give him, in the bill that I put up, we will give him a reduction in his severance up to 35% of his investment. That's a great deal for Brad. He's loving it. He's loving it. But the thing about it is, Brad says, well, I know what I'll do. I'll shut down this over here and go over there, and the state will give me a reduction in severance time. No, that can't happen. What we got to do is we have to annualize Brad's production today. And Brad's production's got to go up from that, or his severance has got to go up from that, or he doesn't get a dime. So we can't have any of these shell games. The only way in the world we're doing this is for additional investment, additional jobs, additional growth. That was my bill. You know, that's how I think. You know, but to answer your question directly about the gas, we had the ability to tier the gas stuff too. You know, gas prices when I was in the beginning here were around $2. And then for a good little while and everything, or maybe $1.75, $1.80, and a good little while they hung out around $2.60, and they went above $3. Doesn't sound like much, but when you go from 2 to 3, you're going 50%. 50% increase for the same gas, for the same cubic feet of gas. You know, a 1 or 2% increase in severance to get 50% more, should have done it. Should have done the tiering. If we'd have done the tiering on day one, this, you know, when we gave all that money back to Iran, we flew over there, all that cash money that was in, you know, that Obama sent back over there, and all the just coffers in that C-130 or whatever, all those just boxes and boxes and boxes of cash. If we'd have done the tiering, we could have put boxes and boxes and boxes of cash right here too.
So you're saying the tiering would have brought it above the current range?
Oh, gosh, yes. Gracious, yes.
Governor, on another complicated topic, I've
So let me answer this. See, what we did is okay, let's just say we said at $2, the gas, okay, $2, you pay 5%. At $2.50, you paid 7.5%, or 6%. At $3, you paid 7%. You know, if you drop down to $1.50, you paid 3.5%. Well, what happened is gas went up, coal went up. The room could have been filled with money. Yes, Brad?
Yes, sir. I was just trying to clarify an earlier point you made about what the plan is for roads going forward. What I think you heard, I would interpret as saying, we're going to take some of the pay-as-you-go money, some of the money, revenue from gas tax, sales tax, that kind of thing, that was going to go to pay down bonds. And you're assuring us that we're still going to have the bond money for use for those big projects, but the money in the future that would have paid down that debt and diverted some of it, a portion of it, to secondary roads maintenance.
I'm saying there's several different buckets we can extract money from, okay? One is just straight, and I think, and Dave can speak of this a lot better than I, but one is just straight from that $913 million that he's talking about. Am I correct there? And I don't know if that extraction is going to be 150, 114. I don't know exactly what that extraction is going to be. The other extraction is the pay-as-you-go money. Am I right about that?
That's right.
Okay.
Might have co-mingled the two.
Remember, we had 1.6 billion authorized under the GEO election. We've only done GEO 1, Brad, which is 800 million. We sold them for 913 million. There's still dollars that will ultimately service GEO 2, GEO 3, and GEO 4 that we call pay-as-you-go money. In other words, it's here, but you haven't floated those bonds yet, so you've created another bucket of money that you can use pay-as-you-go.
So there may be money coming from both the current 913 million, a portion of that, and then the future buckets that are filling up, diverting some of the stream that will fill the buckets.
Right, and then the third bucket that the governor referenced is we're having a very good fiscal year. That's no secret.
Surplus.
And we might, as we get near the end of the fiscal year, there's a potential for a supplemental appropriation of general revenue, and I'm sure the legislators made themselves very clear about that issue. So that's a possibility as well. In other words, a one-time infusion, and you need to get closer to the end of the fiscal year to see how much you have left over to do that. Our rainy day fund, Brad, the bond agencies, we meet the guidelines right now for what the bond agencies want in a rainy day fund. Our rainy day fund is about 16.6% of the state's general revenue budget. So our rainy day fund's in good shape. So you have an option. We've had some good times this year and last year. We have an option of using end-of-year funds and by way of a supplemental to put more cash into the regular program. Of course, that would have to be approved.
Got 3 buckets at least that we know of. That's what.
Now, I'm not clear, if you're diverting money from the bond funds, how do you complete all the roads to prosperity projects that have already been enumerated? Or does it just push them off into
The bonds have not been floated yet, Phil. They haven't gone to market yet. GEO.
Well, I mean, tap it into the 913.
He's told them.
Oh, the 913. The 913 proceeds are on deposit now at the Board of Treasury Investments under the Treasurer's Office. We've signed contracts for $236 million. So $236 million has been committed for 5 very, very large projects that the Highway Department's already bid, spec, and the contracts have been signed. That leaves you the remainder as a potential pot of money to use in part for other projects such as secondary roads. But to do that, you have to consult and be sure that you've met the requirements of bond counsel and our financial advisor. And there are guidelines that you have to follow to do that. And it's certainly permissible to do. But you do have to follow the guidelines and provide the information that they want to be sure they have, to be sure that we've met all the requirements.
But you lose that money for future new projects.
You lose that, yeah,
That section.
that amount, whatever it is not, and GO1 is not going to be, will be used for secondary rather than something else. But these secondary projects are not just paving, they're culvert repair and drain repair, and then paving behind it. So there's a lot of extra work to get the roads ready as well.
Well, like ditch cleaning is part of maintenance too, but you couldn't get a bond for that, could you? There could be something physical attached to it.
You mean, well, again, we've been meeting with a lot of the engineers. The ideal way of doing this is you restore the ditch line, replace the drains, then you pave the road. So it's all part of one project to do it the way it's supposed to be done.
Phil, let me make a stand. Phil.
I lose projects if you're diverting.
No, Phil, listen, let me make a stand, okay? If you got 913, and we've already saved, we've already had projects come in under and everything, and we've got some that are over and all that kind of stuff. We want to go through as best we possibly can and do every one of the projects, but skinny them down from the standpoint that we do not expand the scope, and skinny them down as best we can and glean off dollars and still be able to do all the projects. Now, if that gleaning on the 913 becomes 80, it's not going to become, 300, because you're right, Phil. I mean, just think about, what you're saying. Well, if you take 300 out of the bucket, how can you do all the projects? You're exactly right. We want to glean off as many of those dollars as we can. That's one bucket. The second bucket is we want then to move over and try to take as many of the dollars out of pay-as-you-go that on projects, on bonds that we haven't even put out yet and everything, get as many of those dollars as we possibly can, and let's say we're hopeful maybe that's another 80. And then if we can go to the surplus thing and by the stroke of fortunate, that becomes another 80. And if that be the case, then we got $240 million and we do a whole bunch of stuff. That's how it's got to work. It's got to work along those same lines. Somewhere close to that.
Governor, Bert White is someone you've trusted in a variety of roles over the years, and you've mentioned him as being the interim highways commissioner. Can you expand again on the qualities that Mr. White possesses that you trust? And can you describe the roles he has played in your organizations over the years?
Well, I mean, Bert is a CPA. He knows numbers and knows business and everything. He knows how to manage, from the standpoint of being a COO or a CEO. He surely knows that people and has the ability to know when he's getting the wool pulled over his eyes or people that are just, there beating in a day and everything. And he's not a civil engineer, but right now we've got a lot of really competent people there. And what we just need to do is, I think we just need to refocus our highway department. I think that's the whole issue. Our highway department has been criticized from the first day that I came. There was all kinds of things floating around. The highway department's doing this, and they're breaking the law doing this, they're doing that. And so much of that kind of stuff you hear is nowhere close to fair. But we have got to, we've done so much good in the Roads to Prosperity program, and we've gotten ourselves off and running, but we still got an issue here. We still got real secondary roads problems, and we need to refocus that highway department. And I think Bird, working with Dave and all of our people and myself and everybody else until, I think he, along with the very good people that are already in highways, we'll get this done. We'll get it done. And let me finish with this, just this line here. Oh, you know, I very, very, very seldom do I say an off-color word like, you know, I'm going to fix the damn roads, you know. But I'll never forget my dad. You know, my dad taught me so much. Bird worked with my dad a lot, you know. And I'll never forget my dad standing at an engineering table. And, you know, I tell you a lot of stories that are just analogies just so you'll really get it. But he was standing at this engineering table, and you know, and the table was about this high, and there's big drawings all over the table, and he was there with 2 or 3 different engineers, and one of them was the job superintendent. And they were trying to figure out where to put this box cut through, maybe just basically put a road or a box cut through a ridge. And what they'd been doing, you know, hadn't been terribly successful. And after about an hour and a half, the guy that was the superintendent there, his name was Kirby Bragg. And Kirby Bragg's a good man. And here's what he said. He said, Kirby, I don't know exactly what the right answer is here, but I know one thing, this damn well ain't it. Now just think about that. I don't know exactly what the right answer is with the highway department and our secondary roads, but I know this damn well ain't it. And we have got to get it moving and get it, and that's what we're doing. And we're going to start that right now, and you're going to see a difference. You'll be able to go out to Toby's house, and his school bus will be running on a good road. Thank you, and thank you, Senator. Thank you, Dylan. Thank all of you.